Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take our chapter, in this case nutrition, and this is from Less Stress, More Success by Gill Education. I love these books. I just love the way they're put together. They're very easy to follow. And what we're doing is we're taking this and we're going to turn this into a one-page summary. So I always turn my page landscape, and my favorite type of one-page summary is the study grid. So this is a method that I invented that really kind of simplifies. And what I do is I break the page into thirds. So a little bit like a game of X's and O's. And this gives the page structure. And I start off in the central point, or the central box. And we know that this chapter is nutrition. And what I do is very, very quickly, I work my way around clockwise. So I start off and I put in the first heading, which I know is food. The second heading, which we know is carbohydrates, so I shorten that to carbs. The third heading, which I know is lipids. The fourth heading, very quickly, which we know is protein. The fifth heading, which I'm turning to, I know is vitamins. So we just write that in. And again, we're working around clockwise, and I underline the headings. The sixth heading I know is minerals, and again I draw a line. I like to write black for my headings, the black marker, and then I have water for the seventh, and the eighth then we know are the tests. So very quickly we fill that in. So again, we're moving fast. So this is the 9-minute method. We've got 9 minutes to put this together, maybe even shorter. Then I take my pen and I'm bullet pointing what food. We go back to that chapter, and I know according to the definition of food is it provides energy, repair and maintenance. And the last one then is it's good for the metabolism, okay? And I use abbreviations where I can. We know that biomolecules, it's made up of biomolecules, and the biomolecules, there's 4 forms of those. So underneath that I put carbs, number 2, lipids, number 3 is the protein, and number 4 is vitamins. So again, very quickly I put that together. Then I move and I take another color, and now I'm moving on to the next one, which is carbohydrates. And I remember with carbohydrates, actually they have a very good diagram. So I'm going to use the diagram and I'm just going to abbreviate it. So we know carbs, and above that was made up of polysaccharides. So I abbreviate that to polysac. We know down here we've got monosaccharides, so I call that monosac, and also there are disaccharides, so I just call that disac. And then what I'm doing is I know that there is storage, so storage, and then I put the initial FSG. Down here we've got glucose, fructose and galactose, so I just write in GFG, and the reason I do that is I'm taking the first initial. Over here we've got sucrose, lactose and maltose, so I write in SLM. And the reason I do that is because it's perfectly fine to have your book beside you. And I like these books. They're very easy to follow. Structural, and I know there's cellulose and chitin, and I just call that CC. And we know that there is a big difference between soluble and insoluble. Again, I abbreviate those, and I have that section done very, very, very quickly. Then what I'm doing is I'm moving on to the next one then, a different color, and we're going to lipids. So we know lipids is made up of hydrogen, oxygen and carbon. So we've got hydrogen, oxygen and carbon, and you'll see in a moment why I like to write them hydrogen, carbon and oxygen. We also know about the oils and the fats, and again I group those together because I like the initials OF. So I'm already starting to think about how I'm going to memorize these. Triglyceride is the next key word, so I put that in, triglyceride. And we know then that that is the smallest form of lipid. And we know the sources, so I just put SC, I abbreviate red meat and dairy. We know the function then, so FN for function, energy. And again, what I have it down, I'm trying to get it to 9, 10 keywords, and that's it. That's the goal of the game, really, is to get it down to the least number of keywords, and we've got nice structure and we're bullet pointing them. Then we go to protein. So we know with protein, again, we've got, it's made up of carbon, hydrogen and oxygen, so I can abbreviate and just put in HOC. But also in this case, we've also got nitrogen and sulfur, NS, or maybe SN could be easier to remember. So we know that it is, with protein, the smallest units of proteins are amino acids. And that is actually highlighted for us in bold, so I pick up on that. We know that the functions, the main functions, are repair. And also the main functions are, it's the building block for enzymes. So I put in enzymes as well. I also see then that structural, from a structural perspective, it's in hair and nails, so I put in hair and nails. And we also know that the myosin forms part of muscle fibers, so we've got muscle fibers. Boom, that's done. Again, we have bullet pointed it to, what's that, 8, 9, 4 bullet points, about 10 keywords. Then I move on to vitamins. So vitamins, we know, are complex organic chemicals. And again, we can abbreviate that. And I'll let you use your own imagination for that. Then we know that there's no energy value with vitamins. Again, they're only needed in tiny amounts. And we've got two types of vitamin here. We've got vitamin C and D. So I just write in CD, and we have the chart there, so there's no need to rewrite the chart. And that one is also done. Boom, we're on to the minerals. We're really flying now, and we're moving up. We've got minerals are inorganic chemicals. So again, I write that in as quick as I can. And I see MIC, so I write in MIC, Mike, that easy to remember. Again, we only need it in tiny amounts. And again, I see that there's two types of mineral. We've got plant, and we've got the phosphate and magnesium. So I'm just going with PM. And we've got animal. And again, with animal, we've got iron and calcium. So I see IC. And guess what? I see CIA. They're jumping out at me straight away. And I see ppm or maybe PMP. That might be easier to remember, because again, I'm grouping in my chunks of 3. So now moving on to water, and we know that 70% of the body is made up of water, so I just go 70%, easy number to remember. So the reason for water loss, and we know that is down to excretion, breathing and sweating. So I see EBS, and maybe I'm going to change that to excretion. We write that in. There's our E. We've got the sweating and we've got the breathing. So we write those in as well. Sweating. And when I see those, I see jumping out of me ESB. And you'll start to get really good at this. So the function then of water and IC is something to do with the, it's a medium for enzymes. It's an excellent solvent. And then I see a medium of transport. Again, I see SET, and I just write that in beside it. Again, easy to remember. So the last one then is for the tests. And I see the tests, I see there's 3 or 4 types of tests. There's 1 for protein. There's 2 for sugar. There's the 3rd one is for reducing sugar. The 3rd one then is for starch. And the last one is for lipids. So I see, I'm trying to jump out there and see P, S, S, L. Maybe we can make something out of that. Again, I'll use that to your imagination. But what I'd like you to see is very quickly we put this together. Lovely structure, different colors, bullet points. We've got about 60, 70, 80 keywords on one page. And this is the go-to grid that we're going to use the night before the exam.